So it's going to get just a little bit more complicated because sometimes they'll say find the area between two curves, and they won't specify basically when to start and stop your integral. So, for example, let's say we want to find the area between y equals x squared and y equals 4. Okay, so this one's easy enough where we can graph kind of a sketch of what it looks like and figure out where these graphs are crossing. Y equals x squared is a parabola like this. Y equals 4, let's just imagine this is 4. It would just be a straight line across. And so you can see that the area we're interested in is going to be just right there. Now the question is, we have these 2 points of intersection. We need to figure out, well, where are those? And so what we can do is we can set these things equal to each other to figure out what x values do they cross together. And so x squared equals 4 when we set them equal to each other. And x is going to have 2 answers, positive 2 and negative 2. So on our integral, we're going to start at negative 2 and we're going to go to 2. The integral from negative 2 to 2, and we have to set up exactly what kind of function now. So the top here is 4 and the bottom is x squared regular. So the difference between them is going to be 4 take away x squared. Alright, so we're going to be doing big F of 2 minus big F of negative 2. Now the antiderivative of this function is 4x minus 1/3 x cubed. So let's write this out. 4 times 2 minus 1/3 2 cubed minus 4 times negative 2 . And just be careful about all these negatives. There's going to be a lot of negatives, and it can be confusing if you don't take the time to write it out. So this is 8. This is going to be 8 over 3. And now inside the parentheses, this is going to be negative 8. So subtracting a negative 8 would be plus 8. And what's going on here? So negative 2 cubed is a negative 8. This turns into a negative 8/3. But then it's turned positive by this subtraction, and then it's turned negative again, so this is another negative 8/3. Okay, so this is actually going to be 16 minus 16/3. And again, if we think about this as a mixed number, that's 5 1/3. So 16 take away 5 1/3. That sounds familiar. I believe that's 10 2/3. So the area total there is 10 2/3. So I'm going to give you one to try, but this one's a little bit harder because the 2 functions, one of them is not just a straight line. So there's this function, and y equals x plus 3. And so here's what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to suggest that you guys try to graph it or go to Desmos. See if you can't get a good sketch and figure out the intervals, and then try to do the integral. Okay, so I know that y equals x plus 3 is going to look something like this. Slope of 1, y-intercept of 3. And I know from this that if I factor like x minus 1, I know I'm going to have intercepts like right there and right there. And the parabola is going to look something like this. Okay, so you could use Desmos if you are unclear about what those graphs would look like. The point is we need to find the point of intersection, and this is where I would set them equal to each other. So x squared minus x equals x plus 3. And to solve a quadratic, one with a square, we got to move everything to one side. So I subtracted x and 3. And the easiest way to solve this is to factor. So I get -1 as one of my answers, and 3. Meaning, -1 is my start, 3 is my endpoint. We're going to be integrating over that area. So -1 to 3. And then which function is on top? The top function is x plus 3. We're taking away, or finding the difference between x squared minus x. And so this is actually going to be -1 to 3. It's going to be a negative x squared. X minus a minus x is positive 2x, and then plus 3. I slowed down there just to make sure my signs were right. Okay, so we're going to do this as f of 3, take away f of -1. So I'll do it up here. What is the antiderivative of f? Well, that'd be -1/3 x cubed plus x squared plus 3x. Alright, -1/3 3 cubed plus 3 squared plus 3 times 3. And again, there's lots of negatives, so be careful to write it out. Whew. Okay, this is 27 over 3, so this is going to be a -9 plus 9 plus 9. This is going to turn out to be a -1 times -1, which is 1/3. This is a 1. This will be a -3. Now let's keep going here. These will cancel, so I'm going to have 9 minus, and let's see if we can't figure out here. This would be -1/3 minus 1 plus 3. So 9 minus 1 plus 3 would be 11. And then 11 take away 1/3 would be 10 2/3. Now you may be wondering, what's going on here? We're getting 10 2/3 a lot. Well, I'm trying to keep it a little simple in my explanations, and it turns out with the parabolas, a lot of times, especially if the width is 4, you're going to see about that much as your area. But don't expect that every time.